Now if we move down from here, no, he's done. If we move down now, we've got the manager class. So it says create a class called ATM. So we're going to go here, we're going to go right click new. Let's just save all before we continue, because remember it doesn't automatically save, so don't forget to save regularly. So we're going to create a class called ATM. This is worth 1 mark. If you create it without all small letters, you do not get that. All of them have to be capital letters, otherwise you do not get the mark. The next question says create a field array in the class called money, of the class cash called money of size 500, and a counter to keep track of the number of objects. Now I'm actually asking a question that I've taught you guys to also do in the default constructor. So you'll see these two questions are kind of one, but I just want to get used to the fact that it might be asked as different questions. So I'm going to say private cash. So I'm creating an array of cash, and it's going to be called money. Yeah.
Your stream isn't even on yeah, so it's fine. Just carry on.
Okay, I've made it public now. Try again. I think it was because I changed the other one to try to remove that one. Okay.
So will you have to have a Samsung charger?
Oh no.
No. Go away. Now, on this, I am going to award 1 mark for the fact that you put that it's private and that you've given a square bracket. Sorry, private cash is worth 1 mark. I am then going to and money. So as you said, private cash money is worth 1 mark. The other mark is for the fact that you put square brackets there. Then you would say semicolon, private int num money.
Okay.
Or num cash, yeah.
But
Yeah?
you put private before cash.
It then defaultly becomes protected. The question read as follows. It says create a field array. Okay, it didn't specify, so you wouldn't lose any marks. So then, the question didn't specify whether it should be private or public. So there's actually then only a mark. I'll award a mark for this and a mark for that. Actually, no, that's too many marks. Then just 1 mark for that. How many marks is this out of? 4. Okay, so no money. And then I actually also need to initialize my money object, money, to be equal to a new cash, square brackets 500. Now, I'll work on the now money is equal to 0. Now, basically 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark, 4 mark. Now, some people do the following. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just means that if I have other constructors, it means it will defaultly always initialize to that. So it's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you have other constructors where potentially you will receive through the cache, it would then initialize it and then reinitialize it. So so there's nothing really wrong with it. I just want you guys to get used to the fact that your constructors are for initializing things. Yes.
So num cache.
No, the naming of this one can be anything. You can call this counter, you can call whatever you want. But there's basically 1 mark here, 1 mark here, and 1 mark here. But now I realize that you could have given, also given, done this up here. Now the next question asked me, create a default constructor. That technically should be worth a mark at least. This should also be worth a mark. And that would have been just, if you created this here, that would be worth 1 mark. Do you guys get that? Okay, now, the next thing, unfortunately, is now out of 41 instead of 40, the whole overall thing. Whatever it's out of in total. Now, the next question, it says there, create a field called cache, sorry, done that. Default, create a method called add cache that will receive the value of the new cache and add it to the array. Do not forget to increment your counter. So, firstly, it is a void because it doesn't say return anything. And Connor, come. Focus. And it's void because it's not returning anything. And so we're going to say add cache. We're going to receive through the value. And then we are going to work with that there. So now, when I go into add cache, we're now going to say money. Position num money, because remember this is our counter. It keeps track of each record as we move down, so it'll point to 0, then to 1, then to 2, and so forth as we add new money. So what it says equal to new cache, and we would send through the value that we received through. Now, as far as this, then we would need to increment my num money plus plus. So now, as far as this is concerned, I'm going to give you 1 mark for correct meta. There's 1 mark for this. There is 1 mark for you pointing to the correct location in here. So there's 1 mark for that part there. And there's, I'll get your question now. Just give me a second. Start forward slash, and there's another mark for the fact that you've used the correct constructor to initialize position. And the 4th and final mark is for the fact that you've incremented the money. Yes, Al?
So I got everything right.
Yes.
It's just that I didn't say int value, I said string currency.
Wrong. Because you would lose that mark, and potentially you could lose. Which constructor did you use then?
I didn't use a constructor.
Then you would have lost that 2nd mark.
I typed it out like the
You have to you have to use a constructor to initialize. You have to go new and use the constructor. So if you don't use a constructor, then it won't initialize it. That's all point of the constructor. So it shouldn't be memorized. It should be worked with. Chippy, will you entertain YouTube while I quickly go check out those codes?
How do I entertain YouTube? So, now
wait. Okay, so right now we're going to do the memo, okay? So this is the Chippy question for bonus marks. Bonus marks, okay? So if you did this kind of coding,
My man, you're
done entertaining, sir.
Was it PG?
No,
It was rated 21, sir.
Ah. Okay.
it's worse than alcohol.
Chippy hopefully entertained you. I'm not sure. I'll have to rewatch that.
I don't want to post that on YouTube, sir.
It's live
I make
streaming.
complaints, sir.
Oh, Chippy.
So if you get removed from YouTube, it's not my fault.
Ah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Now on from there, we've got a situation where I think this. Hold on, I'm confuzzled. Okay, never mind. What we've got from here, we've got the add cache. Our next question states there, override the toString, which will return all objects, each object separated by a blank line. Now, on this one, we literally just need to go alt insert create toString. Sorry, alt insert toString. Now, we delete the default that it returns, and we need to loop through our array. So we create a blank string, whatever you want to call it. We now need to loop through our array, and then we return our string. So now to loop through your array, whenever you're doing a lot of things to do with arrays, you loop through the array. So you loop up until the total position. In this case, it's num money that has been initialized. Now, on there, we then have to go s_all plus equals money position I dot toString. So that will get each position. So remember we did that before. I've already explained this. I'm not actually going to go into detail of it because this is just for marking your guys' practice test. So if I go a semicolon there, you'll see there that it will show. It'll put an enter after each one. Now on there, it will have a new line after each individual toString. Yeah, I think we're good now. On that, if we go to sorry, train of thought. So backslash n, so it'll be a new line separated each one. So loops through, goes to new lines. Now there's 4 marks allocated to this. So 1, I would award a mark for the method header. Now remember, you don't get this mark unless you have to not just give a correct method heading. You actually have to physically return a string as well. You get a 2nd mark for looping through everything. So if you loop through the correct, so you loop up until num money, that's the correct loop structure. So you create a correct loop structure. The 3rd mark would be for the fact that you loop each position in the array. So you've gone position I dot toString. So that's 1 mark there. The next mark is for the fact that you separated by a blank line. So it must be \n for this mark here. So this will be 1 mark provided there. Now, moving on from that, so that's our 4 marks that are there. Our next mark is allocated, it's get total, which will return a total value of all cache components in the money array. So we go to here, we create a method called public int get total, because it says as that. We're then going to int total tot is equal to 0 semicolon return tot. We're then going to say for, we loop through our array like I said we predominantly do when it goes to that. So for, we're going to say while less than num money, we're then going to say tot plus equals money at position I dot get value. Now remember, all false money will not be added there, and the total will be returned. Now as far as marks are concerned, there's 4 marks allocated towards it. So there's 1 mark again for the method header. Remember, you do not get this mark unless you return an integer. So there's 1 mark for that. Your total is equal to 0, and the fact that you have a total, it's a talia, is 1 mark. The fact that you loop through your array is another mark. The fact that you increment to the end is 1 mark. Increment to your total is that was the 1 mark. Okay, so that's the 4 marks there. We now scroll down. We write code called user interface. So right click new Java frame form. We're going to create a user interface. 1 mark. It then says you should initialize an ATM object called aman. So in your source, you create a private or whatever, it can be public, ATM. I'm just going to call it aman. I think it asked me to call it. I then in my constructor, sorry, zoomed in now. So in my here I create a field. So I've created a field inside my class. The main class creates a new instance of itself, so it'll run itself. So here I want to initialize my aman. So I say aman is equal to new ATM, and I'll use my default constructor generate. Now it says there, then once you should add the following to the aman. So I go aman dot, dot add cache, and we would sit there. We want to send 50. We then want to send dot add cache. We want to send, what's the next one? 200. The next one is 50. Next one 110. Thank you. Alright, so now we've got all of our cache added. The next thing it asks me to is create a two-string method from JMan and display the text to the user. So public void display all. Now I have to actually create some form of area to display it now, but I'm actually going to create a second area to add money later. So I'm just going to create it slightly differently to what you guys would. Set layout, border layout. I'm going to put a panel at the bottom just so I can add to this later. I'm not going to add to it right now though. If I now create a text area, put a text area at the top, I change this variable name to txt display. Now what I can do is I can then say txt display dot set text to be aman dot toString. Now interestingly, I can do the following as well if I were so inclined. Plus aman dot get total, just so I can test my get total as well. So what I'll probably then do is just say total full colon space. Okay, so now if I run this, oh, I didn't run my display all button. So after this, I'll just run display all. So after I've initialized all my objects, I'll run my display all. So now when I press play, you'll see there that now I'll go through and mark it just now, but you'll see there's 50 rand, 200 rand, 50 rand, 100 rand, 10 rand. Now if for example I set 100 rand aim, okay, well, I can't do it from here, but now marks wise is concerned, this would be worth 3 marks. The fact this would be worth 2 marks here, so this would be worth 2 marks. This would be worth 1 mark. You adding these things will be worth 3 marks. So basically, for every 2 that you add a mark. And toString JMan, that would be the fact that you set text will be worth 1 mark. That you added a GUI component, and the toString will be worth the 2nd mark. Guys, you should have all finished marking at the end of this video. Good luck. I'm gonna walk around and check your stuff now.
Right to the right, so I can see the display.
Okay, so guys, for display all, this is all you would need for your marks. That I literally added this just so that you could see, so we could see the total cost of total cash that we have. All right, goodbye.